Okay, I managed to get co-host status and we're done it. Okay, so I think we'll give it maybe one or two a minute more just to let the people. I know some people are having some trouble getting from the main room, and we have lots of time. So we have just the three candidates, so it'll be about 15 minutes of presentations and then voting. But we'll just give it another minute in case people want to join.
For the presenters, I would give you a 1 minute and a 30-second signal. I just wave my hands so that you know that your time is about to go up, so that you can gauge it better with the ending, hopefully.
Okay, great. So I think we've given enough time. We have a good participation in this room, so a lot of excitement for the general ADA holder. So welcome everybody. As mentioned in the presentation in the main room, we have three presenters in this room. They'll each have 5 minutes. Dan will give the presenter a 1 and 30-second hand wave when he's ready to, or when to give them the heads up that time is ending or coming to an end. After the third presenter, we will share the voting form in the chat. We'll give about 5 minutes. We ask that you please stick around while we confirm the votes, just to make sure that there's no discrepancies. And then once we get the confirmation, we'll all head back to the main room. So with that said, the candidates that we have today are Alison Fromm, Aldian Ka, I believe, and Eli Selkin. And so in the name of sportsmanship, we're just going to go alphabetically to be fair. And so we're going to start with Alison. And so you have 5 minutes, Alison. Dan's timing. There you go.
Okay, great. Can you all hear me? Excellent. Thank you very much. I'm really excited to be here. As mentioned, I am Alison Fromm. And as I start to tell my story, I just wanted to kick things off by saying that self-promotion is hard. And I think it's particularly hard in this Cardano community, what's drawn me in and kept me engaged from the beginning is the just amazing spirit of collaboration and cooperation and warm welcome and willingness to help. So as I tell my story, I just wanted to say that I have only the deepest respect and admiration for the other candidates that are here tonight. And I know we'll all work together in many ways in lots of roles going forward, no matter what happens here tonight. So starting, somebody's asking what the symbol is. I'll get to that when I talk about challenge teams. So starting with my Cardano story, I've been around Cardano for a long time. I'm actually happy to say that I watched the first Shelley block live in real time on the hard fork day. I've been around Catalyst really actually since its inception publicly. I got to vote. I was one of 6 people who voted in Fund 0. I'm one of the Atala Prism pioneers, and I signed up to do that course specifically because of the identity management issues that Professor Pitt just alluded to. I think that identity management is a critical part of decentralized governance, and I'm looking forward to thinking about how the Prism solution can work in the Catalyst environment to support the democratic governance experiment. Coming back to Catalyst, I've served in a number of different roles. I've of course been a voter. I've been a community advisor. I've been a co-proposer for a challenge, specifically the rapid funding mechanism challenge, which got me a lot of initial interaction with the first iteration of the Catalyst Circle. And it's my admiration and inspiration from that group that prompted me to stand here today for the General ADA holder seat. And I'm also very involved with the Cardano for Climate unfunded challenge team. So although the challenge wasn't funded, the group of us that are behind that initiative of bringing together proposers and ideas and resources around how to use the Cardano blockchain to combat climate change continues to work as if it were a challenge team, which is just really exciting way to see the community working. And the snail is sort of the unofficial emblem or mascot of that group. So that's why it's in my background. Thanks for that question. I am super excited to announce, talking about all of the different ways that I've been involved in Catalyst, that I've just made the decision to leave my day job. So regardless of what happens, I am going to be full-time for Catalyst. I know that the work effort to serve in the Catalyst Circle is a lot. And so I've cleared my plate, and I have the bandwidth to really devote all of the energy and efforts that are required to fulfill the duties of that role. The reason I wanted to stand for the general ADA holder seat is because aside from my involvement in Cardano and in Catalyst, I don't actually have a deep technological background. In fact, I've been in finance and accounting for all of my career, and I've spent a long time as a corporate banker. And so I'll just mention as an aside that I actually managed a portfolio of credit commitments of about $1 billion. So in some ways, I think that gives me some facility with the amounts of money in the Cardano treasury, although of course that's not central to this role. And as I mentioned before, what drew me into Cardano was the willingness of people to help, and to help somebody who didn't have a deep understanding of technology. I'm not a software engineer. I'm not a computer scientist. I didn't really know how the pieces fit together. And for somebody without that background, for the general ADA holder, that can be a daunting task. And so my vision for serving in this role would be to find the general ADA holders like myself who maybe aren't deeply engaged in Catalyst already, because almost by definition, the general ADA holder is not here. They're not working in Catalyst every day the way many of the other groups are. So it's a challenge to even begin to find the people that the role is supposed to represent. But I have a lot of ideas to do that, and there are other community members as well who have similar proposals and focus on that issue. And so the first part of my vision for the role would be to sincerely look for the voters, then gather their feedback in an organized manner, and then work on how to leverage that feedback to promote engagement across the board. So I see the signals that I'm running out of time here. I'll just wrap up by saying that it would be an absolute honor to serve in this role. I'm completely committed to stepping up to the challenge should I have the good fortune to be selected. So thank you very much.
Perfect. Thanks, Allison.
Perfect timing.
Excellent.
I practiced.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so next we're gonna invite Aldine and Ka up, please. So you have the floor next, and you'll have 5 minutes to present. Aldine, please.
Hello, everybody. Hi. Thanks for this opportunity. I see many familiar faces here, and many actually new ones. I didn't prepare myself. I make it as a challenge to not prepare myself for this, because I thought I should just talk out of my head in this moment. So I'm gonna try to do some analogy about myself through the picture that you see from me now. And this picture is actually should represent a voter at this moment. He has a mask on his face, like most of us experienced in this time and year, and in this era that we are all living now. But also, yeah, it's not a special thing actually that I'm still trying to close my video and not show myself. It's for me, it's like an obligation to not disclose myself if I'm taking this position, because I should be the voice of all the voters, or I should be voice, ears, and eyes of all the voters. So I'm trying to put myself in the background as much as possible and listen to the voters, but also listen to the circle, what's happening, and try to bridge these two gaps, this gap between the voter and the circle. So by being anonymous or being without a picture, I remember myself to get into that mood, into that mode. So that would be my main challenge. My personal challenge would be to not to listen myself, but to voters all around, or not to present myself. But also it is a very good opportunity for me to engage more with the whole process of Cardano and Catalyst. I've been here, actually, I knew about Catalyst. I learned it from this, I think it was start in the summer last year. So, but I waited like 2 funds. I waited to see how it grows from itself. On the sidelines, and then from the fund 3, I actively joined the community and started chatting with people on Discord and Telegram, and visited few Cardano swarm sessions. But as Alison said, also my time is also limited, but I'm slowly trying to change that. So that would be like my entry into changing my or devoting my time fully to Cardano and to Catalyst, I mean. Yeah, I voted, I was CA, I was VCA. So for the first time, like this fund. And I find it exhilarating, all the experience that I'm getting through this process. Not learning just the process itself, but learning myself. It is very, through every of the positions or the experience that I get, I learn also something new about myself. So what I can say now is that I learned till now is to be patient and to try to be actually, and even as a representative of voters, I must be able also to see through the eyes from all other parts of the circle, and maybe even step back and think about everything that is said or would be said, and then maybe confront or participate in the conversation afterwards, because that's my main problem. I have really big mouth. When I'm open and relaxed, I talk a lot. So because, and the thing is, because I'm very, very motivated with this kind of philosophy side and theoretical side of governance, of communicating between people, I devoted most of my time for this kind of things. And for example, I learned about, and I'm reading still about, like all kinds of different methods of democracy or voting systems, like liquid democracy and fluid democracies and stuff like that. So that is my main thing for Cardano.
Aldian, can you please come to a close? Yeah, that's perfect. So 5 minutes.
Sure. Just to close it off, I'm really for the fairness of the process, and I want to bring this bridge between community and the circle. And my last words should be that I have one quote of mine that I said a lot in last few weeks or months. And that is that every trade is honest, trade is peaceful. And by trade, I mean not trading on cryptocurrencies and stuff. I mean by every exchange between the people, between humans.
Great, thanks, thanks, Aldi. And I think we'll just have to stop there for the sake of giving everybody 5 minutes. We want to be fair, so thank you. I think your message got across, and we'll just move on to Eli now. And so Eli Selkin, please come on the floor. You have 5 minutes.
Hi, my name is Eli Selkin. I'm honored to be nominated to the Catalyst Circle V2 along with these 2 other great candidates. And then let's see. Yeah. So I'm going to give a little bit of my background. I have a master's in social work, and I've worked as a clinical social worker for more than 15 years. I've been an advocate for people to local and higher courts and US federal agencies. I've had a long history representing people who have been marginalized. I received a second master's in computer science in 2019 and have been working toward ensuring equality in workplaces for advancement of people and making the world a better place for everyone. I'm a member of the Gimbal Labs Pluto Space Learning Project that has been funded from Fund 6. And I'm also CTO of Locks Inc., which has 2 funded projects, the Win-Win Mediation Marketplace and the Gravatar for ADA wallets. I am a holder of ADA, and I encourage others to hold ADA and support the ecosystem. So I'd like to identify a few skills that I have that might make me good candidate for this position. I'm a good listener. I'm very patient. I'm a passionate researcher, and I understand the development of projects and proposals. I have past experience peer reviewing journal articles. And also, you might have seen me on the October Cardano 360 spotlight for my project for the that came after the summit. And a couple of things of what I'll do. I will work well with others in the Catalyst Circle by listening, understanding, and supporting the group as a whole, while still maintaining a real focus on the general ADA holders. I'll help ensure quality of proposals. I'll keep building the ecosystem, and also support advancing self-governance. And I really also want to help build a better system that ensures that more people are heard with equal voices. So I'm going to say that I'm taking less than the 5 minutes, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to be a part of this self-governance.
Okay, great. Thanks, Eli. So what we'll do now is Dan will share the link for the voting form in the chat. It'll take you to a Google form. You'll just put in your link and hit submit, or your selection and hit submit. We do ask that you stay in this room until we get the confirmation from the voting coordinator, just that everything is above board. And as soon as that, we'll go back into the main room. So Dan just shared it. So everyone, please take the next 5 minutes to go and vote.
I'm gonna make sure we don't vote for ourselves, correct? Or for the candidate who we think is best suited.
So everybody gets a vote. I asked that same question, and there's no restriction if you want to vote for yourself, as it was my understanding. No, we ask that you just go back to the main room and don't go into the other breakout rooms. And if you do choose to go to another breakout room, do not vote in that room. So we ask that you only vote in one room and go back to the main room is our recommendation.
Wait, will you say to me that we cannot vote for the other parts of the circle? Because we are here now.
Exactly. We ask that you vote once in one room this time. Yeah. Of course.
That's a shame.
Yeah. So this was part of the iterative process, and we will be working on it. But this time it's one vote in the one room. Yeah.
Okay, I understand. Thanks.
I see how I can change my breakout room, but I don't see how to return to the main room.
When you hit leave, it'll ask you to leave the meeting or leave the room, and you'll just go back to it'll take you to the main room. We do ask that you stay here until we confirm the votes, but just.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Oops.
thanks.
Good thing you.
Yeah, thanks.
Sorry.
No, and ask any questions. Yeah. You have a question, one?
I'm saying that you are prepared.
Thanks. Yeah, if anybody's having trouble accessing the form or has any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask. Great. I see lots of votes coming in.
Yo. Hiya.
Yeah, do you have a question, Ricardo?
I think I've done it. I mean, I downloaded the form, clicked my selection, and it seems to have gone through. But the funny thing is, the form's come up in Dutch.
Yeah, it's just a Google Doc form. Yep, that's correct. And so we're tracking it on the back end, and then that's how we'll coordinate all the votes to make sure they match.
I couldn't translate. But it's easy. You just, that's all I had to do was click the selection and send, which was Vergosen or something like that. Okay, thank you.
No problem. So we're just going to confirm, and then we will let you know.
Hey, how is it identified me? I don't know whether the browser.
It'll be your email. So to be logged in, you'll be logged into Zoom, which you should be logged into Google, and it would have tracked it automatically.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So hold on. How do you know that there's 28 people in the room, but not everybody's going to vote? I don't know. No, well, c'est la vie.
Yeah. So at the end of 5 minutes, we'll count it. We'll make sure that it matches the room, the number in the room, and then we'll finish it. We're just waiting to hear back from the voting coordinator.
Actually, I remember there was in the email, there were a lot more people, I think six or seven that were nominated.
Yeah, so the issue with the email is that like these types of things, we had to confirm that people actually wanted to vote. So we sent out numerous emails and contacts to the people, more and more aggressive of subject lines and bolds to make sure people saw it. And unfortunately, we at a certain point have to do a cutoff. And so we could only validate the people who confirmed, and just out of respect for the other candidates. And so that's why you saw a diminishment from the original group. We're hoping that as the admin team gets a little more solidified and we can get a domain name and emails, things won't go missed. Because if you get something from me, how would you know that it's anything other than a personal email? So these are all types of things that we're iterating and working on to reconcile or address in the next iteration.
Yeah, that's actually why I made a PGP key extra just for this mail. Yeah. I wrote you in a PGP so that it's a secure line, some kind. But yeah, actually I needed to look into my spam or folder, and I found it in my spam folder, actually, the email.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have all the votes have been cast. So thank you, everybody. We can all go back to the main room now. So when you go to leave room, you can just go to leave breakout room and not leave meeting, and that will take you back to the main room. I'll wait here in case anyone has troubles, and then we can.
Bravo.
Thanks, Ricardo.
So how do we get back into the other room?
Yep. So go to the bottom and you'll hit.
Second. Yeah. Okay. Grazie. Okay. So now we go into another room and do the same process.
No. Now you go back to the main room.
Okay. Well, the main room's not showing.
Yeah. So you go to leave room. and go to leave breakout room, and that will automatically take you back to the main room.
Leave this room.
Leave breakout room. Yeah.
Okay. Entrato. Oh God, I'm in it on an Italian computer.
So it should be the blue button. So if you go to the blue button on the bottom, hit leave breakout room is the blue one.
Leave session. Last year sessione. Okay.
Well,
No,
so there should be a black button and a blue button. The black button will take you out of the whole thing, but the blue button will take you back to the main room.
okay. Ultra. No.
Let's see what I can do.
Well, if I go leave session, I go off Zoom by the looks of it.
Yeah, so there should be another button there for you. So it should be.
There's a black button above it.
Yeah, so you hit the blue button. Hit the bottom
Hit the
button.
blue button.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
I recognize you were sometimes in a Telegram group.
Which of them? Danny, how much telegrams do we have in the community?
Yeah, that's also.
We have a decentralized community. We did it. We're all over the place.
Not enough? Is that the correct answer?
No, don't that more.
I must just say all the I want to ask Daniel actually, how can he manage all these groups all the time? Is he alone or are there clones of him?
I don't kiss and tell.
Who tells you that Danny is real? Who tells you this Danny is real? Huh?
Danny's actually sleeping. I'm here on his behalf. Number 6578-Danny2.
Exactly.
When Charles made a comment that Dor wasn't sleeping, I almost sent him a book on sleeping because that's not going to work in the long term.
That's true. But happy you made it.
Right.
Normally you set the Saturdays and the Sundays.
I agree with Johnny. Sleep is the superpower.
I'm pretty sure Danny's a deep fake. I'm pretty sure they've sorted it out. Just random people sitting in front of a camera and just deep faking.
Well, I thought we had an understanding.
Yeah, sorry. Did I let the cat slip out the bag?
I'll publish your picture.
Yeah, Lucio might have just screenshotted something there.
I almost missed out on this session actually, or I would pass it 1 hour late. I would come 1 hour late because I missed up with all the timing zones, and I switched time zones like a few days ago. So for me it was especially confusing. So I need to check again. I think my next thing is to take a bracelet clock. Just for UTC time to put it on my arm so I know.
Yeah, I almost did that too. And actually, as the meeting was getting started, I was looking at my Google Calendar and I swear it doesn't seem to be reporting UTC time correctly, or something's off.
That's
Google
right.
Calendar doesn't seem to be in sync with UTC.
No, you know why? I know. I also realized it's not 2 hours plus, but for my location now, but it's 1+ because of winter time. Because we are still doing this stupid thing with the changing of clocks.
It's only 1 week. It's 1 week misalignment.
Yeah.
Ours changed tonight at 1 o'clock, so we'll be back. We'll be back in line. Don't worry. But it's just that confusion for the 1 week.
Hey, I've got a question for Tavo and this chain voting. Maybe
Go ahead, Phil. You're
do you
on.
want to give us an explanation and tell us how it went or it's going?
Yes, so we tried it. but the result weren't that great. So it was, in a sense, nice failure. The onboarding method wasn't that good compared to the Google form here. You just went in, where in the JMode application, there was a registration in front. And the second barrier, there were, since we don't have like UI expert and we wanted to work on blockchain first. So the shares button to find the election wasn't really that well put in place. So that was another point where like people started falling off. And the presentation itself, I shouldn't have done it in the live because I didn't do it in incognito mode. So when I used admin account, I logged off my test account, what I showed everybody. So that probably created confusion. I'm I don't know if it's the correct word, but bullish on the idea that this application will eventually work to create the people, the election itself, putting like what are the seats, how long it lasts, how the voting method is working. This was quite a nice experience. So we have learned and improved the back end and the admin side of that. So need to put more emphasis on the user experience who just wants to vote.
Thank you. Are you going to explore something for the next one in 3 months? Is it?
Yeah. So we will introduce a few proposals also because right now it's put on Hyperledger and maybe community is interested to put it on a Cardano. And since I already see that there are like anonymous wallets and the game changer wallet, so we could already leverage existing ideas and tools to connect the like people and wallets and see how that will work. So yeah, I see there is a lot of potential. So it just depends where do I put most of my time. So I think Catalyst Circle is one, BJFI and Swarm and Catalyst School are the main focus points of my next 3 months.
Curious to see. And maybe for Catalyst Circle version 3, we have already a better voting in place. So all of the rooms are done. All the votings have been fair. So means the most of our real nice community played fair. We don't have any big differences between the participants and the casted votes. So thanks a lot. And hey, there have been several nominees for several groups. Just one of you will be voted for one of the seats. So as you're all interested, all the nominees have been interested in being representative for their group. And we know that governance is a lot about education. Stay close to each other. In 3 months, we will have a next Catalyst Circle version 3. And we know that the transition from one circle to the next is a little bit complicated. So the nominee, the people, those who are elected for Catalyst Circle version 2, maybe stay in contact with the other nominees and maybe keep them close in the process, allow them to have an experience already, and to allow them to have a little bit of better start maybe in their time when they will renominate themselves for Catalyst Circle version 3. So help each other, take care for each other, educate each other, and help the Catalyst Circle overall to take a nice shape over its iterations. So, said this. Cool. We have our elected members for the Catalyst Circle version 2. We'll post it on Danny. I will send you the stuff on Monday, because tomorrow you shouldn't do anything. Even clone Denny's have to sleep from time to time. And now, normally we said we have a coffee break. So let's chill some minutes, take some 5-10 minutes off, and then we hop on in Fireside chats.
I think it will help if you give us a time when we come back, just so we are all on the same page, Felix.
In
UTC, please.
All the time zones, please, to avoid confusion.
Oh, yes.
Use only
Including
minutes.
daylight
Use
and
only
standard.
minutes. Use only minutes, please.
Screen share a timer.
Screen share timer. Dude, you make a coffee break really complicated, do you know?
Okay, coffee break's over.
Exactly, let's say. Right now it's 7:13 UTC. 6:13 UTC. Let's say 7 minutes. On 20, we move on. Fine for all?
Thank you.
And we come back here, right?
Time zones with half an hour off.
Matthias, stop. Stop it. Just let's mute this, guys.
Time is relative.
Exactly. Especially in moments of time changings in different time zones, then yeah.
Especially during elections.
And during elections. So, I even have a coffee. Great. Do you expect a host for the coffee break?
Music.
Music. Oh, music is always nice. What do you?
If you keep the co-host, I will drop a bomb.
If there's anyone here on the challenge teams, don't forget to fill in the consent form circulated yesterday. Thank you. I'm going through it right now.
Good point.
Basically, you just need to put your email address 3 times in there. In the challenge team form.
I'll do better next time.
This will be something really interesting to see as well, how the challenge team will evolve. Challenge teams.
So Felix, will you throw us in the rooms, in the fireside chat, or we choose fireside chat?
They will be named.
Perfect. Just like before.
Exactly. One for governance perspectives and the other one for across the chains.
I want to be in both.
Yeah.
Like really. I mean, you've got all these amazing speakers and guests. So
maybe, Mihaela, let's walk on one for the future. Governance perspectives across the chains.
Right on. Okay. Cool.
No, really, let's do it. This would be
I like the comments. No, yeah, I also like the comments. I'm doing parallel things, so it's.
Rick, no, the breakout rooms are not open yet. We'll wait still 4 minutes until everyone is back, and then we will open the rooms again.
The book club idea is great.
You're right, Matthias. We should. A good session always has some music. We still need if you know a musician or if you are a musician, we still need an epic music track for kickoff each town hall. So if there is a whatnot Hans Zimmer or whatnot here around.
Yeah, did you see the Dune soundtrack is amazing. It's a bit too dark, though.
Can we steal it?
I don't think anybody would notice if we did. Maybe we can.
Hey, Derek, make sure
warp
you
it a
pick up
bit.
some donuts here on our coffee break.
We need to get Hans Zimmer into the community.
To make a mix with Paul Oakenfold.
Let's submit a challenge. Music adaptation challenge. Catalyst culture challenge.
Ah, yeah, no, we need the Catalyst soundtrack for every phase of governance. You know, for innovation phase, it's more like, you know,
fantasy,
free jazz, improv. You know, I don't know. For governance decision, it's like intense, like.
Oh yeah, so some
I could try to motivate my son to work on it, but he doesn't listen to my advice anymore.
Send him over to us. We will manage it.
If you're Grateful Dead fans, then his band could make a soundtrack.
Oh, we need to really epic music so far. The CA stage phase. Some really nerdy, hardcore stuff.
40 plus years ago, I played a Barry sax, if you could use that, in a jazz band. I don't think I could remember how to play anymore, but you never know.
I have an idea. I don't know if there are any Trekkies here, like people who watch a lot of Star Trek. So do you remember like this? I don't know. I think it's the Next Generation one, where they visit people who communicate with like little digital, like little digital gadgets. They have no voice. They don't communicate with the voice, so they communicate with sound of these digital things. And this one episode is about these people, and I cannot remember which episode exactly, but it's really weird kind of. What?
I think it was the Binars.
Binars, I think so, yeah. And that scene with them, it's like really funny, and the sound that they make, it's like a cool tune or something like that. If I could find it, I don't know which episode is it, but it's really weird thing to see. And it reminds me of communication between CAs, you know, when the governance or when the assessment phase comes, you know, it's always like everybody's fighting with each other, but also communicating with each other, and it's fun and crazy kind of collaboration. Yeah, like binaries.
And coffee break is over. We go back to work. No, we do not work. We just do passion-driven weird stuff. Well, again, congratulations. Thanks all. You have really fair community. That's amazing. We don't even need on-chain votings. Come on, we can run with Google polls forever because we are fair, mixing things much easier. Trust me. Great. All right. So again, nominees. One of you is elected. Stay close to each other, please. Teach each other, share your experience, share your skills, share your knowledge, what you will learn through the next 3 months. One thing as well, the elected member from the country.
Building dynamic network models or forecasting real-world behavior.
Yes, why not? Good point. Anyway, yes, the Catalyst Circle members from Circle version 2. They will stick around through the next month as well to be there for you if you have any questions to them from the previous time from Catalyst Circle version 1. They still have the pleasure to stick around again, 1 month volunteer. So yeah, we are there for you. But yes, count on them. They will be there for anything what you need. The first meeting will happen for the Catalyst Circle version 2 will happen on next Thursday at 17 UTC. You will receive an email as well. You received an email already, I think. So make sure to be there. And as well, stay close to the community. I would encourage each of you, each of the elected people, take a room maybe in the next after town hall, present yourself to your own community. Start already to communicate with them. Start already to censor, hey, how is your role working in communication with the community? Take it serious. You're a funded proposal. You have to report. You have to, you're accountable as well. And yes, there we go. So, breakout rooms number 2. Today we have, cool. I have some slides there as well. Oh no, I don't even need the slides. I see. Give me a second. Yeah. First room will be with Dr. M and Professor J about governance perspectives. Feel free to chime in. It's about everything what covers. Oh no, maybe Mihaela, do you want to give a short intro about the room?
Yes, so as I mentioned in the beginning, if you paid attention, Felix, I will deepen into the questions. So I will follow the questions, of course, yes, which were raised. And for now, I grouped them into topics. So that's how I will start. And from those sparks, I think we will make a huge fire. All right, join us.
This sounds amazing. I also want to join your room.
I want to join your room too. we will share afterwards.
Exactly. And in the second room, we have when do I need to click? We have Antonio Nadella from the IOTA community. He's working for the IOTA Foundation. Michalis from the Web3 community. He's working with the Web3 Foundation. And I took myself the right to say, because I started some month ago, to reach out to them and ask, hey, guys, what happens if we sit together from different communities, come together, we are facing the same challenges, we are facing the same problems. What happens if we start to communicate with each other? And Michalis, maybe you want to say something. Michalis, you're here?
I don't think he can unmute himself.
Now you can. Normally you should.
Okay, yeah. I want to say that I want to join the other room.
No. No.
I'm kidding. Felix promised a live chat about transition of power, and that's what everyone who joins will get. Just exchanging ideas on how that transition of power can work on chain, and the challenges, the benefits, and whatever comes of it, I guess. And to whomever is not in that room, I just want to say it's a great honor that I'm invited to your event, and it's a great pleasure for me to be here. For anyone who does join, I will repeat that in the room.
I think the honor is on our side as well. And you see, I told you, we are not maximalists. We are open people, always open for conversation. Don't laugh on us because we do Google votes, but all right. Okay.
Hey, so, it worked, didn't it? So.
It worked. All right. The rooms are open. Mihaela, Jeremy in room 1, governance perspectives, and Michalis, Antonio, we are moving in across the chains, and hopefully will not stay the last cross-chain conversation. So I will hop there as well. For everyone,
I cannot see the room, Felix, my room.
So
I can only see the people. I don't know what's happening. Can you put me in the room?
I will put you in the room.
Thank you.
Can you send me off as well, please? Because I can't see the breakout.
Oh, now I feel better about my IQ. Thank you, Jeremy.
We're just beyond this duality of 1 and 2, Mihaela. Yeah, so.
Always this intellectuals.
I see that you created open room at one person.
but there you go, Jeremy.
Thank you very much.
We are just missing Felix.
Yeah, Felix had to stick around and send people off to the rooms they wanted to be in, apparently.
Just a question, who started the recording? Okay.
My computer may still be recording from my room, but that doesn't seem right, man.
I'm just asking for the coordination with the recordings later. Maybe it will just be saved on the cloud, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, mine says it's still recording. So mine still has pause, stop, but then it's just been recording the other rooms too, I guess.
And I think it does get saved locally. So
yeah, it'll save to my computer once I
Yeah.
leave the meeting. Yeah.
Just don't forget to send it. Okay, Felix also is here. Great.
Woo-hoo. Is that a day again? So one bad message. Michalis, Antonio, he couldn't do it. He has a family problem with his family. I'm really sad about this. But he said already, yeah, let's schedule a second one. So will not be the last across the chain calls. And anyway, so I never made the Fireside chat. How is the Fireside chat working, Michalis?
I guess somebody starts with a topic and then everyone joins in. That's basically the idea. But Felix, a question that comes to my mind regarding this topic is, let's say for this election that that happened, I understand this is the second catalyst cycle election that you're doing. So there are already representatives for these groups. How will the transition of power work from the previously elected representatives to the new elected representatives, and how will that work after the next election?
So very first point to this, because Web3, you are in Polkadot, and Polkadot has the Polkadot Council as well. And I know that you're walking quite close to it, and you're a little bit ahead of, I wouldn't say ahead of us, but you have more time, more experience already. So I say you're ahead of us on-chain voting. You have on-chain voting, all the fancy stuff. How are you doing the transition of power?
Okay, I see what you mean. Well, first of all, the council is can be continuously a continuously changing body. So basically, we don't have elections, but each token holder can vote or remove their vote or change their vote whenever they want. And every week on Polkadot, the revotes basically are recalculated by the fragment election algorithm. And through that algorithm, the top 13 candidates are elected, which then become the council. So if someone is voted out, dynamically, they become a runner-up and someone else takes their place. So the transition of power there is kind of seamless when we talk about the on-chain way of how things happen. Of course, a new council member would have to acclimate themselves with their new duties, what it means to be in the council, how to vote for motions, how to vote for spending proposals, how motions are made into, how proposals are made into referenda, and so on and so forth. So the human factor, like in your example, exists. I mean, if I put up myself as a candidate for the council and suddenly I found myself in the council, I would either have to be well educated beforehand, which that would be ideal, because otherwise I would be a poor choice. But still, I would need to, acclimate myself on how to vote, how to sign proposals, and so on and so forth. So in that case, I guess there would be a transition of power, but it would be more of an educational nature. Otherwise, it would be seamless. But in your case, it's like, handing over the responsibility from one person to the other. And, I'm excited to know how that will go. And if you don't mind, I will ask Alison, because I know her personally. If she's elected, I didn't vote, I swear. If she's elected, Alison, how will you handle that transition of power from your predecessor?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm going.
Can I stop for a second, Felix? Why the chats are disabled in another room? We also don't have it. So if it's mandatory, then okay. But I'm going back to the other room.
Okay, just give me a second. Move on. I will leave and come back directly.
I'm still pondering whether I should answer Michaelis's question, since he just said he didn't vote for me. I don't know if that's
Well, I didn't vote for anyone. I didn't feel it was my place.
No, I'm teasing you, but as a future potential holder of ADA, of course, we would welcome your.
Try to lure me over. Okay, I see what you're doing.
No, I'm teasing you. So to the point about the transition of power, I mean, I think one of the things that attracted me to the Catalyst Circle is that the activities are as transparent as the first iteration could make them. So every one of their meetings was recorded. And one of the things that I was doing that I did to prepare myself as a candidate is I went back and listened to those recordings. And then there's a lot of public documentation about the issues that were discussed, the various projects and proposals that the circle members were working on. And then I don't know if you would have heard this, but Felix had just mentioned that the members of the first Catalyst Circle have very kindly volunteered to spend a month transitioning. So they'll be volunteering, and unfortunately they will be volunteering, not getting any sort of compensation, to serve as mentors for whoever is elected for the second iteration. So there's, particularly because the terms have been set to be very, very short, 3 months so far, because we're learning and it's a sort of rapid iteration. But I think I'm impressed with how much thought the first circle put into exactly the transition power. But I had a question for you, if I'm allowed to ask that. I don't, that's okay with Felix, wherever he's gone. I think he's working on technical issues.
No, go for it.
I was really interested to hear about the seamless sort of continual election process. Is it hypothetically possible that somebody could be elected without nominating themselves or without agreeing to run? I mean, could the community just decide that a particular person should be a counselor and vote that person in with or without their consent? Or is there a mechanism where somebody has to do something on chain to indicate that they're willing to serve if elected?
Yeah, it's the latter. You need to indicate your intent, basically put out yourself as a candidate in order to be able for the community to vote for you.
Got it. Thanks.
Is this done by a DID system or?
Sorry?
Is this done by a DID? So like, so if I were setting up a voting system, I'd issue a bunch of DIDs to the candidates. I don't know. That's the W3C thing, right?
Sorry, no, I didn't quite understand the question.
I think he meant, do you use decentralized identifiers?
It's okay. It's based solely on signing with your account, and then the votes are based on your stake. So token holders with whatever stake they have similar votes on chain.
Is this the W3 consortium?
What do you mean? Sorry, you're muted. I can't hear you now.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I got lost. What are we talking about in particular? Which particular system are we discussing right now?
I assume we were discussing about how the council on Polkadot is elected. No?
Ah, excellent. Perfect. Thank you. No, that was, I just missed that. Thank you.
And yeah, it's a similar situation with the referenda and basically all token holders whenever there is a referendum up for vote, all token holders with their stake can vote. What I find interesting about that that pertains to our topic is the concept of on-chain governance that exists on the chain from its genesis, that will allow it to evolve and have transition of power. What I mean is that, and you know, I think that perhaps this is of interest to Cardano as it evolves to the Volcker era, that by enabling on-chain governance, you enable the chain to evolve to perhaps a different model of governance in the future. Otherwise, if you don't have a way to update the chain or to vote on things, then you don't have a way to change those things, governance included. So it's kind of a paradox in my mind, but it's also very, very interesting that the governance, the existence of governance, allows the chain to change the governance model. So the governance allows itself to evolve and to change. So, and actually in that regard, we are now in the process of, because Felix mentioned the council, we are in the process of disbanding the council and moving to a more direct democracy model. Of course, we are only in the beginning of that, and that will happen over the course of the next months. And it will be very, very interesting to see how that works, because Polkadot started with a pseudo account, then moved to the council and to referenda, and now it abolishes the council, or is in the process to abolish the council. So basically decentralizing governance even more. And honestly, I don't know how well or bad that would work. But I would certainly be interested in hearing how you guys imagine on-chain governance on Cardano. And one other thing that is particular of interest to me is the analogy to real-world governance and how the blockchain can help bring these models and, you know, on-chain, but in a better way than what we see in our countries, or the miniature governance that that was mentioned during the keynote.
And before coming directly back what you said right now, I first want to respond to your question. How do we handle over the transition of power between the circles already? So like mentioned before, the members of the previous circle will still be available to be highly involved with everything what happens in the Catalyst Circle version 2. So with the following. So to say, okay, which obstacles did we discover in our time? What experience did we make? How are things working? Because we have the problem that the Catalyst Circle lasts 3 months. Then there will be a next one. In the first iteration of the Catalyst Circle, we saw already that we took 1 month and a half just to get functional and operational. So we have noticed the problem that the Catalyst Circle will go active next Thursday, and they have to become extremely fast, active, functional, and operational. So to say, okay, for the beginning of the time, we double the resources. We include the members from the previous circle and still keep them involved in the second iteration. Next to it, what the first circle did as well, by recruiting an admin team, it's not only the members of the circles. So the admin team is the draft of building a bureaucratic layer around the circle, which is able to handle all the tasks where we know, oh, this would just require too much effort, too much time from the circle itself to handle those. So they're outsourced to the bureaucratic body already, to the circle admin team, we call it. Said this, you have to know it's a very, very young experiment in Project Catalyst, which defines itself as an experiment as well. The goal is really to set up a framework to explore through an experiment. Hey, how can the things look like? And so to say, really evolve over iterations. In 3 months, we know more. 3 months later, we know more. Get as much experience in fast iterations together and evolve over these iterations and create a theory out of the practice. Then there's another point when you said yes, because now you are, because there's a quite interesting difference between the Catalyst Circle and the Polkadot Council, because the Polkadot Council is coordinating the Polkadot Treasury. So they are a little bit, let's say, the custodians of the Treasury. We have the exactly opposite approach. The Circle, it's not at all a decision-making body. It's a human sensor array, mostly made to bring stakeholder groups together to facilitate the communication with the groups. Because we see very often, for example, when it comes to transition of power, for example, let's say Cardano, like I told you, is built by 3 entities. We have IoT, Immorgo, and Cardano Foundation. And then we have the community, a little bit what you have with IOTA Foundation, Web3 Foundation, and then you have the community. The goal now is to say, okay, how can an entity step back from a custodian to a service provider? And which mechanisms needs to be explored? So the Catalyst Circle from Catalyst side is a very first attempt there as well, because in the circle, there are representatives from the entities as well. To say already, okay, it's a very first place to facilitate communications. By facilitating communications and said that the circle is not a decision-making body. The goal of the circle is to act as a human sensor array. The circle communicates between them already, goes out to the community, sensors problems the different stakeholder groups are facing in their communities. Those problems are gathered back into the circle. The circle itself communicates the sensors problem between its members, clusters them, categorize them, prioritize them, and bring the stated problems, the most important, let's say the highest prioritized one, back to the community. And now starts to coordinate call to actions to the community. And the community now is empowered and encouraged to come up for solutions for the stated problems. So the circle itself don't has any decision-making body, also to provide by, let's say, transition of power, moving away the entities and just creating a new entity. Because yeah, when you have a group of people which have too much power, it becomes an entity. And if you call it IoT Foundation or Cardano Foundation or whatnot circle or council, doesn't make any difference anymore in this regard.
That is very, very, very interesting, and it kind of resembles the direction that we are going in right now. Question though, how does the treasury, how do the treasury funds get spending?
Oh, now you're going to deep rabbit holes. Okay, this is what we call Project Catalyst. You can say it's an innovative marketplace for ideas, where we have a part from the Cardano Treasury enabled to the community based on a very easy principle. Submit proposals. You state a problem. You think you have a solution which is able to solve this problem, and everybody is able now to sign up on a, we call it idea scale. Well, most of the people we know it's not the best, but anyway, you submit a proposal, and this proposal will be voted and funded by the community themselves. I try to map it as easy as possible because you have the CAs and the VCAs process, so the validation, if it's not a spam, what it's a good proposal, what it's a bad proposal, and everything. But mostly I can say yes. It's really made on problem-based proposals. And like this to generate a flow of the treasury, which is always able to get regenerated into the community to solve problems. So to use the community as an army of builders. All this in an experimental frame of Project Catalyst, where everything, even there, walks over evolving over iterations. Everything can change, everything may change, especially by the discovery from the community. So we have a lot of groups in the community themselves. Nobody needs a qualification or a title to act so. The community defines its roles by action. And there's an incentive model as well to, well, still there on the very beginning, but to incentive all the roles as well. So to also figure out for a later stage, okay, how can we make sure that those people stay motivated, become experts, and get highly involved in the whole ecosystem itself. So bring the people in, keep the people in, make them involved, make them engaged. You also have a kind of proposal mechanism, but it's a council who decides on your side as well, which proposal get voted. On our side, it's everybody is able to vote. For example, in the last round, we had 700 submitted proposals. Everybody who holds ADA is able to vote with a minimum amount. We use a plutocratic voting mechanism. So you need at least 500 ADA to vote on all submitted proposals. You can submit as many votes as you want. You can vote on all the submitted proposals. You can upvote and downvote them. And yes, when proposals receive enough votes, they get voted. When it fits into the budget of the challenges of the sub-funds in which they have been submitted, they are funded as well. Then they move into the cohort where they start to execute their proposals, where they actually paid for. Philip, you want to say something?
Yeah, yes, I wanted to start with the differences between the council and the circle, but you did a great job with that. So I just wanted to say that, you know, Catalyst is like a Voltaire testnet of sorts. Voltaire is like the final phase of Cardano development, which is governance and like ideally complete governance of everything Cardano chain related, you know, even the, you know, blockchain parameters themselves. For now, Catalyst being a testnet is still, you know, limited to funding projects because we iterate, we learn what works, what doesn't. And so my question was, you having the council, like, does the council have a power, let's say, to tweak the parameters of the network, to maybe change consensus rules, things like that? You know, that's because for all the things that we still don't have decentralized, we still have the gatekeepers like IOG to do those things currently right now.
No, everything goes to referenda to be voted by the entirety of the community. The difference is any community member can do a public proposal. The difference is that council proposals, if voted unanimously, they have a lower threshold for passing. If they don't, then you need 50% of the votes in favor in order to pass, whereas public proposals usually have a higher passing ratio, and all that depends on the turnout. So the council itself, no, it cannot pass anything that they want. Everything needs to go through referenda and be upvoted by the community. But the council, in coordination with what we have now, the technical committee, which will also be abolished in the future. They can fast track referenda, in which case they can be passed faster. And these are usually, bug fixes or crucial runtime upgrades, stuff like that. What I find though interesting in both scenarios, in both what we are doing and what you guys are, from what I understand, are planning to do, is this concept of the plutocratic vote. As it was mentioned in the keynote speech, there is no perfect form of governance, and how proof of stake networks work is the more tokens you hold, the bigger is your voice, which raises, of course, the concern of concentration of power into a few entities or a few individuals that hold a lot of stake in the network, which, of course, that means that they have a lot of investment in the network, but at the same time, perhaps can lead to situations where they can make unilateral decisions. And I would like to bring up this topic. I feel it touches somewhat to our conversation of what mechanism do you think exist or may exist in the form of governance to mitigate that, so that everybody has a voice, and not just the rich.
I think already to the plutocratic voting system what we use right now, I think everybody knows it's nothing what will last forever, and it's nothing where we say, okay, it's only this what we have for the future. It's really to mention that Project Catalyst is really, it's an experimental frame with the goal, and that's a quite beautiful mission, to explore the highest potential of human collaboration. Where I see, for example, a difference as well in the Polkadot community, which is extremely, let's say, technical based, really extremely. I joined some of your sessions, for example, and there you have whole projects who present side chains and power chains and huge fucking projects. What the fuck? This guy is there hardcore, okay? All right. On the other side, I think with a structure like this, where we have a nice direction of Project Catalyst is to say, like Philip mentioned already, it's a testnet. It's a testnet to find answer to all those things where we don't have the answers yet. I think it's quite sure that it's not only one system who could be perfect, because we are all individuals. Everybody has his own individual perspectives, skills, ways of identifying or interpreting himself to something. And there are many projects, many critics, plutocratic, sociocratic, holacratic, democratic, whatnot. I think many people in the community envision in the future stages, we have not one governance model. We have a system of fractured governance models. We can say, hey, they're coexisting to each other. And each community even can set up their own governance model by creating this diverse framework of say, hey, this is plutocratic, this is sociocratic, this is holacratic. And you as a community member, you are able to participate in one of those, several of those, but you don't have to choose only one. Like, I think also what happens here now, it's not one blockchain who will do the run. The beauty is to say, it's not one protocol who will win. It's not the Cardano or the Ethereum or the whatnot. It's the diversity of all of them. I think it's quite important to focus on, yes, experimenting. Experimenting, allow the community to actively participate in this experiment, to give them the possibility to take initiative and responsibility, and to let them figure out themselves what they want and what they desire.
Oh yeah, thanks, Philip. That's a very interesting interesting approach, and I'm trying to to think of ways that that could be introduced perhaps to our governance model, because we have separate communities, separate entities within the ecosystem, the Polkadot ecosystem itself, and of course the greater ecosystem that includes parachains and all of the projects building. But all of these communities regarding of funding or enacting general changes in on-chain in the community have to go through the same governance process, whether it's submitting a proposal to the council or submitting a public proposal to be voted. We don't have that on-chain governance that perhaps is a bit fragmented, and it serves the purposes of a specific subset of the community, like for example a community that's interested in staking mechanism, or a community that is interested in the social impacts of Polkadot or the blockchain in general. That's definitely an interesting approach, and I'm looking forward to see what your experiment, what results it brings. Yeah, that's all I had. Sorry, I thought I had something more, but yeah, that's all.
Maybe let's experiment together also. Say, hey, you are doing your stuff in Polkadot in Web3. We are doing our stuff in Cardano. And I think there's a huge opportunity by looking already, hey, because we are, as we know, we are facing the same challenges. We are facing the same problems. But everybody here in the room, how well do we know what the other chains are doing? We are mostly focused on our ecosystem. Fortunately, we are not maximalists, but anyway, by our interests, we are focusing on the stuff we are doing in our environment. I think we can learn a lot by saying, hey, Michalis, look, we have this problem here. Do you have the same problem? Yeah, we have. Hey, what has been your approach to solve this problem? Did you solve the problem? No, but we take this approach. Oh, okay, you take this approach. All right. So I say already, how could a cross-chain environment of collaboration could look like, where communities can come together, not by being maximalist, not by saying, we are Cardano and we will rule the world and we are the Ethereum killer. Fuck off, no. To say, hey, there are so great folks in each of those communities, huge skills, huge commitments, huge engagements. What can happen by coming together as well? So, but Danny, Philip, you want to say something? Sorry.
I think Philip had a hand up first.
No, I already spoke. Go ahead, Danny. I'll ask later.
Yeah, I think, thank you for being here, Michalis. I think having these conversations is extremely refreshing. Not very often we get those conversations in environments that we can actually, ping from one another, pick up each other's brains and that sort of thing. Most of the time what we see is like, Twitter wars and all kinds of social media wars, where people got their truths and, they present their agendas and whatnot. And maybe I wanted to bite a little bit into that semantics. One of the most common comparisons that people talk about, especially in terms of governance, it's about token distribution, right? And I wanted to pick your brains a bit, like how does Polkadot view, like the Polkadot community view the token distribution within the Polkadot ecosystem? Because I think we often see all kinds of those graphics being compared about how much is allocated to actually the public sale and how much is it, let's say, to the private VCs or other entities. And if you see any kind of issues with regards to the governance model that perhaps needs to be instituted that reflects those power struggles within, because I think, no one is really immune to these things, but I'd be curious to hear how are you guys looking at it? Do you have any concerns about it, or is it just something that will be taken care of? Where's your headspace around that?
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. Well, as I said before, with any proof of stake chain, the concern of concentration of power to those who hold the tokens is definitely a concern. My personal concern is what happens with exchanges, because a lot of people have their funds on exchanges, and exchanges as entities hold a lot of funds. So if they wanted to, they could affect situations. Thankfully, until now, they haven't decided. I'm guessing it's against their best self-interest. My answer to that would be better education of the community, because one problem that we see is low turnout. Referenda comes to vote, but the largest participation that we had to date was the redenomination of DOT back in August 2020, and that was 24% of all token holders. That is kind of disheartening, to be honest. But I believe that this is a phase that all blockchains go through right now, because most token holders are interested in when moon. They have the voting power, but they don't use it because either they don't care or they are only invested in regards to price. So I think that it's in the hands of engaged community members and foundations like the Cardano Foundation or the Web3 Foundation to educate token holders, on how it's in their best interest to participate. Of course, not everyone can be as well educated, and not everyone can always be interested or know about certain topics. But if we increase participation, then I think that's how we decrease the danger of a few key players making all the decisions. And I include Web3 in that subset of entities. Other than that, I don't think that there is a way to curtail who owns what. I mean, it's a free market. Anyone can go buy DOT, anyone can go buy Cardano. And if they have the money to do it, they can affect decision making. On the other hand, you have the argument that the more you hold, the more invested you are. So it's unlikely that you will make a decision that it's harmful to the entire network, because you're undermining your own holding and your own value. But at the end of the day, I think that having a strong consensus mechanism with regards to both on-chain governance and the actual consensus mechanism that uses blocks, where many people can participate, and incentivize that participation, perhaps through delegation, or, as I mentioned before, education. That's, I wouldn't say the silver bullet, but that's where we should be heading. You can't force anyone to take interest, but you can try. And I think that's what we should do. We should try to educate token holders that it's not about the price. It's not about when moon. It's about what is beyond that, which then again affects price and affects their holdings. I don't know if I answered your question. I hope I did.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, any blockchain, as just you said, it is going to run into those things. It's just a matter of figuring it out, where exactly those centers of power sort of end up, centralizing or not, and trying to incentivize actually the system in such a way that it does not want to centralize, that it's actually in its best interest to break up those, you know, pockets of power into like multiples of them and push them like to the edges, so that, you know, collectively the value of decision making is much more quality. But, you know, it's you know, I appreciate the answer.
Definitely. And I would like to share something that is happening right now on the Kusama chain, which I find very interesting, although we are going beyond our allocated time. So perhaps Philip, ask your question, and then if we have some time and people are not starting to leave, I can dive into that.
Well, from my previous experience, I don't think people will leave. I wanted to ask you, I know that parachain slot auctions are now ongoing, and I know very little about it, so I'm sorry if I say something stupid, but I see, let's say, relatively small amount of slots available. And I wanted to ask you, do you have like hyper competitiveness within your community? Like, do you have, you know, Akala supporters attacking Moonbeam supporters or things like that? Because from our perspective, we have like, you know, 600, 700 proposals in a fund. And, you know, we still, from my experience at least, we still support each other. You know, we support, very rarely I see, if at any time, you know, someone attacking someone else's proposal for their own benefit. I don't know about voting, maybe someone downvotes, you know, for their own benefit, but still the community is still, from my perspective, very friendly. But maybe the reason for that is that there are so many, you know, of these proposals, and the stakes are lower. I'm guessing, you know, getting a parachain slot on Polkadot is a much bigger deal than maybe getting $20,000, $40,000, $50,000 for your proposal in Catalyst. So I wanted to ask you, is there like animosity, you know, between these entities that you see right now?
Great question. I haven't seen anything like that, but perhaps it's because we are still in the early stages and only the first slot have been, you know, put up for auction. Perhaps as we reach the 100 slots that is the limit, perhaps we will see more of that. Thankfully, for the time being, all parachain candidates have kept things civil, I guess because they feel that there are enough slots to go around for everyone. Of course, there is this, you know, kind of in a joking mood, like who will get the first slot and who will get the second slot, stuff like that. But I don't know if that will become a problem as you know, we reach the 100 slot limit. But at the end of the day, I mean, each parachain does its own thing, so it's up to them to sell themselves to the community, to, you know, gather their votes and to incentivize, of course, participation, because we have the crowd loans where you loan your DOT or your Kusama to a parachain in order to help them get a slot, and in return you get native tokens on the chain. And of course, we have seen situations where each chain tries to do something more, like, okay, a referral bonus or an early bird bonus or liquid tokens, or, you know, stuff like that. As we approach, though, the 100 slots, there is the concept of the relay chain upon the relay chain, the nested relay chain, as we call it, where a parachain basically can become a relay chain itself and thus expand the slots to an even bigger number. So no, we haven't seen that kind of animosity yet. At least I haven't experienced anything like that. And we haven't seen it with proposals either, because, well, there are funds to go around, so you don't have to, you know, beat out the competition to get your share.
One question what we covered before already, for example, in our ecosystem, voting participation, or if you vote, it's rewarded, but quite low. So sometimes we have people, for example, who say, oh, okay, yeah, I vote with 10,000 ADA. How much do I get in return? Yeah. And when they get a response, it's right. What? Only this? That's ridiculous. Why should I vote? On the other side, for example, we have, because we have a plutocratic voting system, we had, for example, a really nice presentation. I think it was last week from the project Vortrag. We covered a little bit. They made a really nice analysis about, okay, which amount of ADA actually do you need to have also an impact, a real impact in voting, where we discovered, oh, 80% of this room here, your voting doesn't really matter because your impact is so low. So we were sitting in this presentation that, oh, great, thanks, Kenrick, you just destroyed our dream of governance. You just told it that our voting participation does not matter. And anyway, so I think when it comes to governance, the incentives and the educations are key. And how do you incentivize voter to participate actively in decision-making processes?
Currently, we don't have some sort of incentive. We have, of course, the staking rewards for participating in consensus, but not for on-chain governance. One thing that we are planning to do, along with the abolishment of the council, is to incentivize delegation of votes. So for a community member that doesn't have the time or the knowledge to follow all the different referenda that's going on chain, they can delegate their vote to somebody they trust and they vote on their behalf. It's like a sort of indirect democracy, but without elections, rather a dynamic, delegation of power. We also have that now, but it costs fees to delegate, and you reserve your funds. We plan to doing that free in order to incentivize that, and perhaps find other ways to incentivize it in order to incentivize participation. But right now we don't have an incentive mechanism. What we do have is the conviction multiplier that I forgot to mention earlier, that can empower a low stake. So let's say that you feel very strongly about a referendum. You have the option to lock your tokens for a longer period of time, and in doing so, multiply your stake by a factor of 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 6. Or you can say, I vote with no conviction. I want my tokens unlocked as soon as the referendum ends, in which case your vote is multiplied by 0.1. So even with 1 million DOT, if you vote with no conviction, your vote is only worth 100,000 votes. But if you have 1,000 DOT and you vote with a conviction of the highest conviction, then your vote is multiplied by 6, I believe. So that's kind of the incentive of participating when you feel you don't have as much power as a guy who holds thousands of DOT.
Because I think sometimes in the community we have different layers of community, let's say, and with their own sub-layers. So for example, you have the when moon guys, when limbo guys, okay, say, okay, they are part of the community, but yeah, until you just need to drop off the price, and yeah, the half of them will run away. Let's say, okay, you have people, for example, that should say, oh, okay, just hold, and then 5 years, okay, but not hang around. Then you have, let's say, for example, active lurkers. who say, oh, okay, they are quite interested, not really involved, are not really active, but always up to date a little bit what is happening in the ecosystem, in the community. And then you have, for example, this hardcores of the community, really this visioners and doers who are really doing. And mostly those are not the people who have a huge budget on a site, for example. Sometimes I think then in blockchain communities, it comes to the problem, those people who are the most engaged, the most involved with the project, with the evolution, they don't really have the stake to say, oh, okay, they're actively able to make decisions on the big scale, for example, because they don't have the resources. They only have their commitment. They only have the engagement. That comes a little bit to the point, okay, how do you sustain this community? Because if you know, hey, those are guys, they are always struggling to bring their project just forward and everything and all this stuff, and you don't even want them to take so much focus on this because you just want them to give an environment in which they simply can go on, build their stuff, do their things. So how do you handle this, for example, in your community to support those? Is there, for example, a direct support from the entities who is able to censor initiatives, projects like this, and to provide any direct support? Or does everything have to run through proposals and the council?
Well, there is the on-chain way of supporting by financially supporting, I mean, which is through spending proposals that go through the council or bounties. And there is also the mechanism of tips, where if I see a community member doing something good, I propose a tip for them, and the tip, and then the council tips accordingly, and they get some funds for their initiative. Although tips are tips, they are small amounts of dot, for individual tasks. For incentivizing entities and projects to build, we also have the off-chain mechanism that is funded by Web3 funds and parity funds. We have the Web3 grants, where projects come and they want to build something, they do a proposal, and based on the technical merits of the proposal, they might get a grant to basically kick them off the ground. And of course, there are grants, that projects that get grants for phase 1 of the project, phase 2, phase 3, and the same thing happens for the proposals on chain. For example, the block explorers get funded by the treasury in order to keep up their operations and to improve the UI and the UX that they offer the users, because they are considered, projects good for the whole ecosystem. And one other thing that we are trying to do, that we are in discussions right now, is basically how to fund community members individually by emulating the grants program, but on a community level. Like, let's say a local Polkadot ambassador wants to do a meetup and with their local community. Through that project that we are considering right now, Web3 would be able to quickly fund them in order, to do what they want to do in their local community, or update the wiki, or do something cool that's not technical. That's not, okay, I want to build this DeFi or that wallet or whatnot. So yeah, basically we have these mechanisms: the off-chain that goes out from parity funds, and the substrate builders program that is focused on developers and is funded and supported by parity. And then we have the on-chain mechanism of spending proposals, bounties, and tips. Does that answer your question, Philip?
Yes.
Awesome.
You always answer the question.
Okay, so I would like to bring up this example that I mentioned earlier. Felix, you know that I mentioned it during our call, because I find it very interesting in how on-chain governance and on-chain participation works differently from real world governance. So crowd loans and parachains have not been without controversy, not the kind that Philip mentioned, but projects starting off with a certain promise and then midway changing that. So we had a parachain candidate that started with a cap on Kusama of 400,000 Kusama for their crowd loan, and halfway they reduced that to half because they realized they could not give rewards to everybody if they reached that half. So there was some backlash from the community that wanted that crowd loan canceled. That didn't happen. Everyone got the rewards in the end. But now there is another parachain that, although they said, a parachain candidate, that although they said they wouldn't do any IDO or VC funding, and they would only do the crowd loan, after the crowd loan started, they approached an IDO platform that has a sketchy reputation of being possibly a scam and has nothing to do with Kusama, and they launched there. So there was a backlash from the community that said, hey, you broke your promise. We didn't participate with this information, and we want the crowd loan canceled. And there is an ongoing referendum proposed by the community to cancel that crowd loan. If it passes, which I believe it won't based on how the vote is turning out, but if it passed, it would actually initiate on-chain functions that would cancel immediately the crowd loan. The team could start a new crowd loan again if they wanted, but their current crowd loan would be canceled and everyone who contributed would get their Kusama back. And I find that very interesting. It's a tangible example of the community voicing their concerns and having a way to actually take those concerns and transform them into tangible action. And you know, the vote is put out there for the whole community, and there is actually a decent turnout. But you know, in the real world, that would be very difficult to happen. It's direct democracy at its best, in my opinion. The community having a concern, having something that they want to change, and they have the mechanism to produce that chain, or at least, you know, try to.
So what is the way such a proposal have to pass through in Polkadot?
So a public proposal has to have a super majority. Basically, that means that the A votes need to be above a certain percentage that is defined by the turnout. The higher the turnout, the lower that percentage gets. So with an ideal of 100% turnout where everybody votes, that percentage would be 50%. So if the ayes were more than 50%, it would pass, otherwise it would fail. The lower the turnout, the higher is the percentage. That's because it's a public proposal, and that differentiates it from a council proposal, where if it's unanimous, it has a negative supermajority bias, where you know, the lower the turnout, the lower their percentage that it needs to pass, and the higher the turnout, the closer it gets to 50%. The council proposal without a unanimous vote, it has a 50%. First pass the vote wins. So yeah, turnout is important. I think that let me check and see if I can give you the numbers if anyone is interested. I think the turnout was about 10%, which means, sorry, I need to load it to see it. But yeah, that's the general idea. So yeah, let's move on, and once it loads, I can give you the specific